Good morning, everybody. Good evening.
Good evening and welcome to Wine O'Clock. We hope you are well.
Oh, I can crush a grape.
Great.
Oh.
Crush it.
Do you remember? Who
Now,
used to
obviously,
say that?
we usually do coffee moaning, except for when we're both somewhere else. And so when we can't do coffee moaning, we do Wine O'Clock.
Where's your wine?
Well, I had a vodka tonic.
Oh, vodka o'clock.
So I've had a vodka and tonic because my hair dyed. My friend came round and dyed my hair.
How are you feeling?
It's gone much darker. What do you think? Do you like
I
the new darker
really liked
colour?
it. I loved it when it was wet. It had a certain, whatever the name of that woman from Russian Doll.
Nadia.
The actress. Yeah.
She's called
Is that her
Nadia.
name? Nadia? Nadia something or other?
Nadia.
Nadia.
So here we are in the evening. So hit the subscribe button and the notification bell because this is a really cool channel. We do so many things. We do TV reviews, movie reviews. We'd have a cookery show every Saturday. We do the papers on Saturday morning. We do so much gardening, everything. And also, of course, we've got two of my mates in the celebrity camp. What's it called?
But not on this channel.
No, what's it called?
No, I'm a jungle. I'm a jungle, get me a celebrity.
So we're going to also be reviewing...
That's what jungles around the world are saying. I'm a jungle, get me a celebrity.
Get me a celebrity. And so we're going to be reviewing that. So subscribe, hit the notification bell because we never know when we're going to go live over that stuff.
And also just to say, tonight at 8 o'clock, Home Time is landing, in which Nadia and Dina thrust a very cold surprise on me in the garden.
Oh, is that one? That's our family reality show. So it shows, what time's that going on?
That's going on out at 8 o'clock tonight.
8 o'clock. Okay, so I'm not fully across the stories we're going to do today, but I just wanted to say something we did on Loose Women today. And I mentioned you. And it was the fact that clutter now in America, intentional clutter, is the museum of me.
Like Tracy Emin's bed.
And I said, your room downstairs is literally that.
Right. Hang on a minute. The museum of me.
Yeah. So like somebody might go into your room in there and go, God, what a mad kleptomaniac.
Or no, what a mess.
But now in America, you'd be able to say, this is intentional clutter. This is the museum of me.
Right. Yeah. So your room is the museum of you.
Yeah.
I think it's quite depressing. That means the drawers in this house are a museum of you, or a little kind of...
I said, the thing is in my house, more and more of me is being dropped as you walk through the house.
No, there's more of you on the floor. Exactly.
My hair pieces, which I have to say, I was very surprised. I took my hair pieces out today live on Loose Women, and people were gasping. So shocked.
What, the bag of hair pieces you were stressed looking for
last night.
Yeah. Which I remember seeing and thinking, oh, where's that bag of...
Until half midnight, I was running around the house. I said, I've got to have my hair pieces more. I've got to have my hair pieces. Gave up, went to bed. Last minute, dug my hand into my handbag. Where were they? In my handbag.
I'm not trying to be a killjoy, but I mean, I guess a pile of anyone's mess is a portrait of them, isn't it?
That's me.
Isn't it? I mean, it really is.
Well, that's what Ruth was saying after. She said,
the case for everyone.
She said, so my house, she said, if she goes, because she went to boarding school and everybody's stuff was everybody. So she's really particular. So she says, if I put something there and somebody moves it there, it's too difficult for me. She likes everything. And her dad was in the army. So I said, so that's a museum of you, just because it isn't a mess.
Right. So it's not about volume of stuff or messiness of stuff.
I thought, well, there's this intentional clutter, that's the same. But I thought, we all need to think a bit more like this, especially in a world where there is so much pressure on Instagram and other things of like having the perfect home. We all fall into those I see
what you're saying. Yeah.
And so you go, no, it's an intentional... No, so it was Ruth that brought up the point. She goes, well, I suppose mine is a museum of me. It's just different because I haven't got clutter, but it tells you a lot about my personality and about that she likes an ordered house.
Yeah, because I mean, there's a lot of shaming.
Feel ashamed, whatever you are.
There's a lot of shaming of people who hoard.
Yeah.
And what might be hoarding for you isn't hoarding for me.
Yeah, so like your room, I was ashamed we haven't got a photo of it. So much. Go take a photo of it.
No,
come back.
Lots of people here love my room. They know my room.
So
they see it in all the movie reviews.
Well, I'm thinking about people that haven't.
No,
might be new.
I know, but they
so
can imagine.
Mark's room is just an absolutely incredible, insane room, a shrine to so many
Sue
things.
Gilbert, organised chaos.
That you find so interesting, aren't they? I mean, like, God forbid, if you were to go before me, I could go and sit in your room and I'd be with you.
Yes. Yeah, literally, because the dust from me is
Because
probably
your
in there
clutter,
too.
yeah, you're probably.
It's not clutter.
Your
I
actual,
fucking hate that
your
word.
actual skin.
See,
Mark, it was the whole.
No.
Hang on a minute.
The
It
clutter
was the topic.
of me. I don't care.
Mark,
I find it a really stupid phrase.
Mark, it's
I don't like it.
Is it a shame I can't do that loose with it?
It's just the clutter of me. Of course, it's the clutter
clutter
of you.
me. Anyway,
it's the clutter.
Moving on.
But I mean, but your room. So in a sense, what I find interesting is when the clutter of someone. If you were to go into my room, you could just be hit by a wall of just stuff and make a judgment like you just did, like you're a kleptomaniac or something.
I didn't say
you did.
No, I didn't. I said he looks like a
kleptomaniac,
kleptomaniac, but it's not.
Stuff.
Well, okay, a hoarder.
Right. But that stuff in there has detailed meaning and relevance. So like someone who went in there recently, who was a movie fan, was lost in it. Lost in it.
Well, no,
I went into but I go into your room and I'm lost in underwear.
It's just a whole load of shit.
It's underwear.
Yeah. Well, it's not just
Spanx.
Underwear.
It is.
Oh,
and eyes.
Okay, now you're getting silly.
Move on. Eyes.
Move on.
And pads,
move on to your stories. What's
all
next?
sorts of things. Could assisted dying be legal? Thanks, guys. In the members area on the community tab, lots of you left some comments about this, and I'm going to read a few of them out. But this is the assisted dying bill. The details of it were kind of released today, so we can kind of get a look at how an assisted dying bill or legislation could look, the shape of it, how it would be applied, where the dangers lie, and all this kind of stuff. So I'm curious to know what you think about that, because throughout the day on the radio, it's been a very, very emotional and conflicting kind of topic where I found myself literally yo-yoing from one side to the other of the equation, because I thought, well, we'll get to that in a minute. I thought I had a very fixed idea on it, and by the end of the day, I haven't quite got the same fixed idea. Gary Lineker is leaving Match of the Day. It's all confirmed. How do we feel about that? Are we a Gaza fan? I'm a Gaza fan.
I am a huge fan.
Final stories, and we're going to talk about the I'm a Celebrity cast and nuclear fallout. So there we go. Gaza.
Well, I'm a fan of his. You know why? Because he's a man who sticks by his beliefs.
Yes.
He's not afraid to say what he thinks in a world where everyone is always watching what they say, you know, in case they might lose a job or they might lose I'm talking about in show business. I'm not talking about in the world. So, I mean, and he spoke up for Gaza, the situation in Palestine. I remember he took people in for Ukraine. I think he is a man of principle. And so I admire that. I admire somebody that will speak up and
I think it's really odd. He gets a lot of stick. I mean, I noticed a number of people here saying, I don't care. I mean, he's been an absolute, for me, I mean, and I'm not a football fan anymore, but he's the cornerstone of football coverage for me. His voice, his punditry, his lightness of touch. You've met him. I've met him a couple of times.
I only know him for Christmas.
I've met him a couple of times. I really liked him. I just thought there's a kind of solid kind of, and I think he's thoughtful, and I think he doesn't just, I think some people try and characterize him as just throwing out random messages without a thought for it. He's very thoughtful. He's a smart guy.
He's a thinker, and he cares.
But a lot of people here, look, Elsa Pop, I can't stand Gary Lineker, overpaid. Amazing footballer, says Lee Durrant. Yeah, absolutely.
Was he a good footballer?
I think of him more for Walker's Crisps.
Yeah,
Crisps.
Well, because I'm not interested in football, so I just think of Crisps. I see him and I think, oh God, I don't know, fancy a bag of cheese.
Well, the thing is, Alison Fisher, I like Gary Lineker, but he gets paid way too much. The interesting
but that's not his fault.
Well, no, that's not his fault, but you're going to be really staggered and amazed that he's not going to be crying over any spilt milk leaving Match of the Day. Did you know that he set up and runs the podcast company that does the reality? What's it called?
I absolutely know about his podcast company.
What's the one that we like in the USA?
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't own that. That's not his podcast.
No, his podcast company is behind.
No, it's not.
It is.
I'm sorry, darling.
I've got it here.
I've
got the story here.
It's not. Not the one. Not the first one we love. No,
hang on.
It's not.
Hang on.
Well, unless he's bought it recently.
Hang on. Let me tell you. The name. I'm pretty sure the name of his company. Well, how do you know so certainly? What do they?
Because I know I can't think of the name of his company, but it's not the one of my favourite one.
The Rest is Politics. He does. Yeah, he is part.
Oh,
owner.
The Rest is. I thought you were talking about the American one, our original podcast.
The Rest is Politics USA.
No, with the American guy who was the watchmaker. I thought you meant the first
watchmaker.
Yeah. You know, the amazing. Anyway, this is boring for people.
Well, I don't know. No, so The Rest is Football.
Yeah,
The Rest is Entertainment.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Well, no. Apparently, he is literally. It's a multi-million pound
No, no.
company, so he's not going to be worrying. I mean, his money. I think even the money that we all think he's being paid too much for Match of the Day is absolutely nothing, and it pales.
He
into
does that
insignificance.
because he loves it. It's not for the money.
Yeah,
Is it
exactly.
called Sunflower or something like that?
I can't remember. But anyway, no. So he's responsible for one of the most successful podcast companies in the country. Okay, let's talk about assisted dying. So assisted dying. This is the legislation being brought in. It's a private members bill. A private members bill basically means that all politicians in the House of Commons are free to vote on it according to their own personal feelings. Sometimes the government of the day or the opposition can bring in a whip and tell their MPs to vote in a certain way if they don't like it. But it's a private members bill. And I think back in the day, it used to be the case that 2 MPs every year are allowed to bring in what are called private members bills, i.e. not legislation that's brought to the House by the government as part of its legislative sort of, plans. And this is being brought in by a Labour MP called Kim Ledbetter. And here are the kind of 7 key components of the details of a assisted dying bill. Number 1, patients must be over 18, have the mental capacity to make a choice about the end of their life, and be terminally ill and expected to die within 6 months. Hold that thought. Number 2, they must express a clear, settled, and informed wish in 2 separate witness declarations. 3, 2 independent doctors must be satisfied that the person's eligible. 4, the application must be approved by a High Court judge who would hear from at least one of the doctors and may question the patient or anyone else involved. Next, medicine must be self-administered with doctors banned from assisting. And finally, coercion of a patient would be a criminal offence, punishable by up to 14 years in prison. Now, when I read those initially this morning, I thought they're pretty watertight, isn't it? It feels quite, as watertight
there
as
is
you can get
nothing
anything.
ever that is going to be, people can get around anything.
Yeah.
But I think somebody that would work hard to get around all of that is probably going to do something anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean?
If you're that committed to working around those 6 points, you're going to work around them anyway.
You work around them anyway in some other way. I really want us to have that choice. I do. When you think of people with, motor neuron, these things, when they know that they could face a very, very frightening death, it seems unbelievably cruel.
Yes.
And they're going to go within 6 months anyway, and they're going to spend that time worrying about that and frightened.
Yes.
And then people that are in extraordinary pain. Why would we not let somebody?
Well, let me just throw a fly in the ointment on that. This is a chap called Nick Ward who has motor neuron disease.
I think that's the kind. I think motor neuron disease are the ones that I've heard the most from on assisted dying, and the people that have spoken about it that have motor neuron have always convinced me.
Well, interestingly, this chap is against the rules because. He was diagnosed 10 years ago, and apparently every year for 10 years he's been given a sort of a forecast of living for only 4 to 6 months. And wow. When I heard this on the radio earlier today, there was someone else who rang in whose husband had a very rare form of throat cancer. Eye cancer, and they were given 6 months to live, and he lived for another 10 years. And so this threw a complete spanner in the works for me, because I thought, oh God, it's so, and it speaks again to this idea of, do you remember there was the suicide case of the person using the pod, people with depression, how do you know you're not going to kind of recover? How do you not know that times will get better? The many people who tried to commit suicide and actually, wished, are relieved, obviously, that they didn't, because their lives turn around. I just thought that his case and many other cases speak to the idea that perhaps it's not the 6 month thing isn't actually watertight.
But that's quite unusual, isn't it, to live so beyond a time that you're given? What about somebody who's dying? They're definitely dying, and they're in huge amounts of pain. Do we not have a choice for those people?
Well, and I think
it's not an easy.
No, it's not. But I just think it's interesting to have a chat about it.
But it's really interesting because one can flick back and forth the whole time, can't one? And yeah.
Dawny Harvey, I will never forget the conversation Mum and I had when she was terminally ill. She said, what if the pain gets too much? at that point, it became obvious to me she should have had the choice. I'm going to pull up some of the comments that you left under the community page here. N4 Sounds, I agree with it, but not now. We need to sort out palliative care. I don't think it works as it should. Faith Goodman, I'm 100% in favour of this bill becoming law. I wanted my wishes to be put in my power of attorney form, but the solicitor said as it wasn't law, I couldn't put it in. In my opinion, if someone like me decides this years beforehand, once a certain list of diagnoses has been given, then I think it should be allowed to happen. As this is not pressure from anybody else, it is my choice what to happen to me in the future. I.e., if I develop certain diseases without any cure. My lovely husband, Tony, knew my point of view for myself. He didn't want it for himself, but knew I wanted it for me. If I made this decision many years ago and haven't changed it, and so do not expect to change it in the future, I believe that I should be allowed to do it if I am given the diagnosis.
It's like, I feel like we don't even own our own bodies and our own souls.
Yes.
That's what I think about it.
Yes.
It's like we don't own anything. Whether you're renting, you've got a mortgage, none of us really own anything because everything really hangs by a thread, doesn't it?
We're all tenants in life.
Surely the one thing we should be allowed to own is our body and our soul. And I feel really strongly about that.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Because I don't think there is a perfect solution. And I think it's very interesting that I didn't know that this was this guy's POV. But at the same time, I have listened to so many with motor neuron. I'll never forget that really big case years ago. Do you remember when he was just begged? I can't remember the chap's name because I cannot remember anybody's name. I can't remember my own children's name, so it's not anything to do with him. And he was so desperate and he was denied it and he had to starve himself to death. I mean, that is wrong. Isn't it?
Totally. Just going to read a few more comments out. Marina O'Driscoll, thank you, Mark, for the update. Definitely am against anyone taking their own life. I'm a Catholic and that's my belief. Alison Fisher, assisted dying is a tough one to call, but I think if in the right circumstances and proper procedures are put in place with safeguards in place, it should be allowed. Rachel Hardman, I saw my mum die a painful and undignified death last year. It's left me knowing that we should allow assisted dying when you have a terminal diagnosis and you're reaching the end.
Oh my God. Absolutely. To watch someone you love just, suffering.
And I was a bit surprised. I mean, again, it's interesting because I think some of the
And they're begging for you to help. That's the other thing. How many people are put in the position where somebody they love is literally begging them to put them out their pain?
I mean, there's a number of politicians who are sort of, the reason this is a private members bill, a number of politicians are saying, please don't turn this into a culture wars thing. Because I was surprised because Ed Davey is against it, the head of the Liberal Party.
I think he's got quite a strong faith, hasn't he?
Yeah, and I think a lot of the people who are against it, I couldn't help but feel today that whenever I heard them arguing against it, they were coming from a sort of idealist's position on what the NHS should be providing. And given that the NHS and our lifestyles don't provide the care or the guarantees, all the solutions,
all the palliative care, all the care homes, all the hospices, pull your finger out and start properly funding hospices so people aren't having to be cared and aren't having to be in quite the level of pain that they might have been. Do you know all children's hospices have to raise their own money. That's a huge problem. But I do think, for me, it's my body, my choice. And I feel the same way about it as I do abortion.
Yeah.
And if somebody disagrees with it, I completely respect that.
For them. Yeah,
exactly. I wouldn't be saying, oh my God, but how can you, or or how can you have this 10th baby? You should, I would never do that because it's their body and it's their choice.
I think it's a really potent argument. And I think on an existential level, not that this is what it's about, I think it's as profoundly important for us as humans to have the ultimate control of those aspects of ourselves, like we see it is the case for women and their fertility and having babies. I think it's so, because you're right. When you actually, I used it, threw it away as a glib kind of statement there. We are tenants in every single aspect of our life. There's very little
not
that's
in our
actually
own body,
free.
in our own soul.
No,
it's mine.
Yeah.
It's mine. It's the one thing that is mine.
Absolutely. 3 final comments and then we'll move on to I'm a Celeb. Thanks for letting us know about I think if you're in that much pain every single day, says Shelley Silver, and are in the right sound of mind, I totally agree. It's sad that a lot of people feel they don't have a life. They're just existing, not living. Eluned Bree, assisted dying, have so many ifs and buts, maybes, yeses and no thoughts about it that it blows my mind. I'll be looking forward to listening to the conversation. Yeah, I mean, it's
it's a
complicated.
really tricky
And
one.
I thought I had a simple solution, and then I listened to all these stories of people saying I lived beyond the period of time, and I was like, okay, that's tricky. Okay, so here's the bunch
But
of.
I would also wonder whether how many of those people would have taken that option anyway.
Yes. Yeah, I suppose the question to ask is, even if you do live beyond what you've been predicted,
is it just
is
about is it just about length of life?
And is that luck? I mean, Faith says her Tony was given 12 months, sweetie, and he died 3 months later. Yeah, it's interesting. That's a really interesting point. Just because you live it, you don't at the time. Maybe you don't.
Yeah, maybe you don't want to live for another 10 years. Some might, and some might not.
Incredibly painful. Okay, here's the bunch of junglers.
Yay! I was so excited for Jane. She texted Kay and I a couple of days.
Is she excited?
She is.
Nervous.
We know because every year she's been asked, actually. And we're always like, oh, go on, do it. You'll be great. You'll be great. Yeah. And she's always like, isn't not the right time and all of this. But she is, she's recently divorced. Her kids are now grown up and looking after themselves. I
saw an interview where she said, I want a new adventure.
Yeah, it's like great. Yeah. But I did say today on Loose, I said, my God, I mean, they're not going to be able to frighten her. Every year she goes to Fright Night at Thorpe Park and she doesn't even blink, right? Heights, whatever it is.
Well, it's funny you should
and
say
then
that,
I realised the one thing they could do to scare her.
What?
Take her HRT away.
Oh, fuck. Well, that scare everyone else. Yeah, fucking hell. Okay, well,
and G.K. Barry, it's really interesting because they're both loose women.
Yes.
But they've never met. They've never done the show together.
Oh, how funny.
So they'll literally be meeting in the jungle.
Oh, I love that.
And she is adorable. Now, lots of people of my age won't know her at all, but like our youngest adores her. She's got millions of followers on TikTok and Instagram.
Oh, okay, Instagram.
She's at YouTube. Yeah, she's great. She's absolutely great. And she's a sweet and funny. She's a comedian.
Right.
She's outspoken. She'll be great.
Okay, well, I just want to pop the faces up because obviously I know our Jane, but I was struggling with a lot of the others. Elliot Gonzalez here. I Talk Telly saying it's a great lineup. So let's move through them.
Oti Nabusi. She's wonderful.
Dancer?
Strictly.
Singer? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
He's from Coronation Street.
Who's this chap? Is this... I actually actively want to see if I can struggle for a name. I don't know who that is. Who's that, guys? Do you know who that is?
Let's do the names.
And hang on. Who have we got there? There's Jane.
She looks so cool. She always looks good in the hat. She's one of those people that can put any hat on and she looks
she does look good in a hat, doesn't she?
Yeah.
We've got this person. Who's that? I've got the photos here somewhere, so let me just pull them up. That is Tulisa Contostavios.
Tulisa, she got treated really badly. She was like, do you remember she was an X Factor judge?
Oh.
She was doing so well, and she was,
And then we've got...
sex tape hell, I think.
Oh, right. And then we've got Melvin Odum, TV presenter and radio DJ.
He's adorable. Kay and I did a celebrity circle with him. He's really lovely.
And then we've got Colleen. Is that Colleen?
Colleen Rooney.
Colleen Rooney.
I went to see the play that was verbatim the court case between her...
Oh, bless you.
Rebecca Vardy. I have never been so surprised at somebody going into the jungle as her.
Yeah, you didn't believe it when it first came out.
Understand it because she just doesn't do this stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe she's just had enough and she just needs to get away from Wayne and the kids.
Barry McGuigan.
Oh,
boxer.
He's a boxer.
Do you remember him? God, he's literally a blast from the past.
Yeah. And there's G.K. Barry. She's great.
And wasn't the Reverend Richard Coles going in?
Yes.
I thought he was.
No, he's rumoured to be a surprise.
Oh, is he a surprise?
Yeah.
And then so we've got G.K. Barry, and then you've got Danny Jones from McFly, and won the Masked Singer. And then who's he? This is one other one. See, I don't know the celebrity.
Don't know who he is. But anyway, we'll be looking forward to that.
Dean.
We'll be watching and we will be reviewing.
Dean McCulloch, Radio 1 DJ. There you go. All right, guys. Well, apart from this is a queue just outside Le Creuset. Check this out. When you queue 4 hours for the Le Creuset, 4 miles.
And this was on the same day.
To get a cheap Le Creuset, which was still 150 quid, even when it was halved in price.
And what they should have done was go to TK Maxx.
Yeah, check this out.
And get one of these. Look at this.
Yeah.
It's just as fabulous as a Le Creuset. It's gorgeous, and it was 60 quid.
60 quid. And finally, if you were wondering what Liz Truss was doing in the few days she was in office, she was looking at maps of the weather, because at that point they thought they were going to drop a nuclear bomb on Ukraine, and they were looking at what the fallout pattern would be in the UK. That's how close we get to these things, and we don't get told. Just thought I'd let you know that. All right, guys, lots of love. See you at some point tomorrow. And don't forget, 8 o'clock tonight, there is a home time. Lots of very funny surprises.
Bye.